Hi there, my name is Varshini Prakash. I am one of the co-founders of and the executive director of Sunrise Movement. And we are building an army of young people across America to stop the climate crisis and create millions of good jobs for our generation. And so today I'm actually sending you dispatches from the road. Right now, me and some of my friends from Sunrise Movement, you can see them in the back there, hi, are hitting the road to bring the Green New Deal to every corner of this country. We were in Boston, we were in Detroit, and today we are in Iowa. And actually across the movement, Sunrisers are holding over 300 events to bring the national conversation about the Green New Deal into our local communities in the next 3 weeks. So I want to say a very happy Earth Day to all of you, and it being Earth Day, it kind of reminds me of our history around this day. And in some of the very first Earth Days that we had in America, we actually were able, during that time in the 70s, we were able to pass some of the most sweeping environmental legislation this country has ever seen. Things like the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act under conservative presidents like Nixon. And this wasn't because they just had a change of heart or wanted to do good. It was because there were 20 million people in the streets clamoring for action for clean air and clean water. That is what propelled them to do that. So, thinking about the legacy now today, that was just 50 years ago. Now we're at a tipping point with the climate crisis. We are facing down one of the most, the greatest existential threats of our lifetimes, an ecological and humanitarian crisis, essentially. And we need to take action like our lives depend on it. We need millions of bodies in the streets. We need millions of people getting out the vote to pass so that we can ultimately pass the policies associated with the visionary program like the Green New Deal, which pushes for climate action rooted in economic and racial justice. It's become abundantly clear we cannot just change our light bulbs, we need to change our politics. And it takes everyday people to make that happen. So on this Earth Day, I really encourage you all consider joining organizations like Sunrise Movement that are working to mobilize thousands of young people across America to protect our collective future and our shared home. Happy Earth Day, y'all.
So that's awesome. Sunrise Movement is great. I mean, how instrumental in helping to refocus our national priorities on climate change. And seeing her and the others, I mean, the ones on the tour obviously are a little bit older, but everyone in Sunrise Movement is young, including some little kids. It made me think, with you being a father, you have young kids. Does that change the way that you think about climate change and what future Earth Days are gonna look like?
No. So it's a good question.
You haven't given up or anything?
Yeah, and it's a fair question. And look, two reasons why I say no. One is, I'd like to think that I have a good deal of empathy for other people. So when some tragedy happens, let's say a flood in Bangladesh, I think that a lot of Americans go, nah, whatever, Bangladesh, I don't know where that is, right? And I think a lot of the right-wing revels in like, no, it's America first, okay? But to me, a person in Bangladesh is a person just like anyone in America is. And so it's gonna affect us all. And so the fact that it affects my kids, look, I don't know that it's gonna particularly affect my kids anymore. In fact, it might affect them less than the average person because they're gonna, like the person in Bangladesh has a lot less opportunity to protect themselves, right? So that's part of,
interesting.
Yeah, so that's part of it. And then the other thing is that, you know me, generally I'm an optimistic person. And so I do think we're gonna solve it. But I think that part of it solving it is crushing our political opposition. So I'm optimist, but I'm a very practical, ruthless optimist, right? It's not like, hey, I bet Mitch McConnell will get on a unicorn soon. No, we're gonna, not unicorns, we're gonna take a bunch of horses politically and run them over, okay? But we've got to clean house. If we don't clean our house first, we'll never get to clean the planet.
Interesting. Wow, okay, that was interesting. Yeah, I don't know, I don't have kids yet, but when I think about having kids and how long it'll be before they're grown, I do think about the things that won't exist anymore. Like the foods that won't be around anymore, the animals that will go on extinct, places you can't visit anymore. I don't know, maybe they wouldn't travel, they wouldn't go anyway. But I do think about like lost opportunities. That was a very progressive point of view that you had, that you love your kids exactly as much as every other person on the planet and not a bit more.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I wish I was that progressive. I'm not that progressive, but I do think that my kids are probably going to have some privilege that a lot of the rest of the planet are not going to get to have.
Yeah.
And so that's why we got to look out for everybody equally.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.